Debate, the Honourable Member for Nunavut.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To preface, I don't plan on taking too much time. I just wanted to speak briefly to the great importance of this bill for Canada and for its Indigenous people. I'd like to start by thanking the member from Abitibi Bay James, Nunavut EU, for bringing this bill forward, and say that I'm truly honoured to have the opportunity to speak to it. Mr. Speaker, as an Indigenous member of this House and this Parliament, this bill is truly special to me. I think we all know that Indigenous people of this country have historically suffered far too many traumas and injustices as a direct result of colonization. Over the past 150 years, Canada's Indigenous people have lost much of their identity and culture, a loss that has left many struggling to find their place within this country. As a result, we see a huge disparity between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. In particular, poverty, incarceration, healthcare, housing, access to clean water, and in their overall quality of life. And sadly, this is just the start of a long list of others. I believe that the adoption of this bill will be a strong first step in helping to right these wrongs, to close this gap going forward. This bill fulfills one of the very important calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It calls on the federal government to use the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People as a framework for reconciliation. In doing so, the federal government is required to exercise a more contemporary approach when engaging with Indigenous people. An approach that is rooted in respect for Indigenous rights and equality. And this, Mr. Speaker, is exactly what Indigenous people of this country need. I have stated many times in this House that Nunavut experience third world living conditions in a first world country. Sadly, this is a fact, and the statistics to support this statement are there. Nunavut has the highest rate of food insecurity in the country, with nearly 70% of homes being food insecure. And there is currently a housing crisis where nearly 40% of Nunavut are in need of suitable and safe housing. This is not to mention the highest rate of suicide and the lowest graduation rates in the country. Something needs to change. And so, Mr. Speaker, yes, I agree, we do need a new approach on how the Government of Canada engages with Indigenous people. And I think this bill represents a good step towards reconciliation and addressing the current disparity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had the great honour of